All right, I'm going to go ahead and call it. So thank you again, everyone, for being here tonight. This is our Earth Month Sustainability Roundtable. My name is Sally Hopley, and I'm representing Metropolitan Community College. We are hosting this event tonight in conjunction with UNO and Creighton University as well. So tonight we are bringing you a number of sustainability professionals from the local Omaha area to give you a brief overview of what their organizations are currently working on as we roll into April or Earth Month. And our theme for our presentation tonight is a call to action. So each of our presenters will give you a few tips or tricks on how to get involved in this work, depending on what you're interested in, and some things that you can do related to each of the work of their organizations. So thank you again all very much for being here. We are going to go ahead and do all 6 presentations right in a row, and then we will have some time for a Q&A at the end. So feel free to put those questions in the Q&A throughout our event tonight, and we will work to get through those towards the end. We are recording this event, so if you'd like to share it with someone else, down the line, it will be housed on the MCC Sustainability YouTube channel. So if you're looking for that link, keep an eye out on our social media. We will try and post it after the event. So thank you again. But without any further ado, let's get rolling. So our first presentation is with Lauren Senec, the CEO of Metro Transit, to tell us a little bit more about Metro's greatest and latest and some ways you can get involved. Thank you.
So yes, I am Lauren Senec. I am the CEO of Metro Transit, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. Metro considers ourselves a strong partner in helping create a more sustainable region, and wanted to start a little bit about who we are and what we do. First off, we're the public transit operator for all public transit services within the city of Omaha. Our limits are City of Omaha limits. But within that, we operate fixed route, our regular express buses, local buses, circulator services. We also offer Mobi, which is a complimentary ADA paratransit service for individuals with disabilities. And then our newest product is Orbit on Dodge Street. Okay. Overall, Metro supports sustainability by helping reduce greenhouse gases by really encouraging a viable alternative to single occupancy vehicles. In 2021, Metro provided 2.1 million trips on our bus service, and conservatively, we estimate that replaced about 812,000 car trips, or removed about 5,600 metric tons of greenhouse gases that would have otherwise been polluted into our air. Right now, our ridership is still a little bit lower than average. We did experience a bit of a dip in ridership with the COVID-19 pandemic, but it's slowly making its way up. And we're finding that as we invest in high quality transit service overall, we're actually seeing an increase in some discretionary trips, particularly along our new Orbit line on Dodge Street. We're seeing more riders ride in the evenings and weekends than we did even before COVID-19 started. One of the things that's really important for us to do as we're promoting sustainability is, as we're trying to encourage that mode shift and trying to get people out of their single occupancy vehicles, we're working really hard at Metro to remove barriers to riding transit. So several of those initiatives that we're doing to help make it more attractive and easy and convenient for you to ride is a new fare payment system called UMO. And UMO is a contactless system that allows riders to pay with a credit card, debit card, or cash, and use an account-based system that's either on a smart card or on a mobile app. We'll be integrating trip planning and all different kinds of pieces in with this mobile app to really make it accessible and removing that upfront barrier if you have to find the exact change to ride the bus. One of the things that's really exciting with this program is that we've also instituted monthly fare capping. And what that means is that we have a 30-day pass that's unlimited rides for $55 or $27.50 for those who qualify for half fare. However, we were finding large numbers of low-income passengers who were riding the bus very frequently and who would have realized a huge discount from that monthly pass were unable to purchase it because of the upfront cost of having to buy it. So now with this new UMO system, we have a pay-as-you-go system. So people are just paying for each individual ride once they hit that monthly cap in a calendar month of $55, they keep tapping their card or their app, and the rest of their month's rides are free. It knows to stop charging them once they reach that point. So it's really helping promote equity, but also encouraging more mode shift and encouraging efficient use of our bus system. Another really exciting thing that we've recently launched is a pilot program called K-12 Rides Free. In this program, it is from May of 2021 to June of 2022. And this is a pilot program where all students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can ride any bus anywhere in the system, any time of day, any day of the week for free. And with this new pass program, we have seen 75,000 rides in the first semester alone, which is a 50% increase in the number of students used to ride our bus. Not only is this helping promote mobility and sustainability throughout the region, but even more so, it is teaching the next generation about riding the bus and helping to instill those alternative commuting habits early on. Additionally, we're looking forward to the future. One of the things that we have been working really hard on at Metro is a strategic plan called Metro Next. And this plan is looking at the ways we are going to grow and expand our system to meet the growing needs and mobility challenges of the region for the next 5 to 10 years. In this project, we are looking at new orbit corridors, and we'll be looking at trying to study 24th Street as the next rapid transit line, connecting North Omaha to South Omaha. We'll be kicking off that study as a follow-up to Metro Next very soon. We're also looking at routes where we can add frequency, where we can run later, more often, nights and weekend service. We'll be looking at places where we can add in more bus shelters, real-time arrival, and a host of other improvements that's going to make transit more attractive now and into the future. Metro Next is guided by 5 goals that we're really using as the lens by which we're considering all of the projects that are getting into this final plan. Those 5 goals are equity, expanding connections, providing an excellent travel experience, sustainability, and then also responsible and collaborative leadership. I'm really excited to announce that the draft final plan will be released this weekend. So I certainly encourage everybody to attend our open houses, check out our website where we'll be having more information about this plan, and to get involved. The open houses will be Saturday from 12 to 2 and Wednesday from 4 to 6. Additionally, we are very excited that we have 3 brand new, fully battery electric buses. These are zero emission buses. We have 3 of them running around on the streets. They were paid for by a competitive federal grant, as well as support from the Nebraska Environmental Trust. And these are a wonderful opportunity for us to learn more about this technology, be able to really integrate them into our fleet overall, and understand how they will be able to operate, the number of hours they'll be able to be out on the street in all different types of weather, different types of routes, with different topography. They've been on the street for about a week and a half now. We're really excited about this possibility for our fleet overall. Additionally, just last month in March, our board of directors passed a motion in support of planning efforts for Metro for climate action, mitigation, and resiliency planning, and for us to create a transition plan to completely transition our fleet to a net zero emissions fleet over time. So we'll be kicking off the planning efforts for that very soon. Okay, so in terms of what you can do, I'm going to make one more pitch for the Metro Next open houses and making sure that you're reading up on that plan, because it really is a way for us to grow and to provide more viable alternatives for the region. But certainly, we encourage you to learn more about our bus services. We have all kinds of information. You can look up routes on our website, ometro.com. You can do trip planning on Google Transit and Google Maps and other things like that. We also have My Ride Omaha, which is an app as well as a website where you can see real-time arrival information of the buses, plan your trips to get to wherever you would like to be, and really be able to understand when the bus is coming and how that will fit into your overall day. Also, we encourage you to try UMO if you haven't. This is the new fare payment system. It makes riding the bus much more frequent. We have free cards, or the app is a free download on your smartphone, and you can load as little as $5 in your wallet, and it will stay there and be protected for you anytime that it's convenient for you to use it and try the bus. And then try it. We really want to make sure that people get a chance to ride the bus, see what it's like. And, you know, you can connect this with a bike plus transit trip overall. All of our buses are equipped with bike racks that you can bring for your bike for free on the route. And then finally, what we really want to know is, how was your trip? Please let us know how we're doing. The community feedback about your trip, what worked well, what didn't work well, what could be done better, is really important for us in our ongoing efforts to improve our service. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take questions at the end after we go through the others. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Next up, we have OPPD, or Omaha Public Power District. And with us tonight, we have Eric. So Eric, I will let you take it away.
All right. So as she said, my name is Eric Bensala. I'm an energy advisor at OPPD in the Product Development and Marketing Department. I'll just take a few minutes here to go over some of the current projects OPPD has to offer. Now, the first one I'd like to talk about is our customer-owned generation program, or maybe more simply put, going solar. Through this program, OPPD supports customers that go solar. An important aspect of the program is the variety of resources available online for our customers to help inform them on what that journey of going solar looks like. We do have a webpage at oppd.com/COG dedicated to helping customers better understand this process. On that website, they will find a quick start guide, which you can kind of think of like a safety card on an airplane. It's a high level, concise, and to the point look at setting their home up for solar. They'll also find detailed information on how net metering works, FAQs, and a really fun feature to play with, the solar calculator. Earlier this year, OPPD rolled out a customer-owned generation trade ally program. Through this trade ally program, OPPD brings together solar contractors, electricians, electrical inspectors, and engineers. OPPD provides training to help these groups align to provide safe solar installations that get installed quickly and provide power for many years. Experienced contractors that earn professional certification in solar and agree to professional business practices can join that list of OPPD customer-owned generation trade allies. These firms are listed on the OPPD website. They are also the only companies that can offer that $5,000 OPPD solar rebate while they do last. Finally, OPPD implemented a state-of-the-art online solar application system to streamline the interconnection of the large number of solar systems getting installed in the area. OPPD's community solar is a way to share in the support of cleaner energy. And while we are currently out of shares for community solar, I wanted to at least speak to what the program is. We hope to have more shares available later on down the road. Those customers that have enrolled in OPPD's community solar program are subscribed to one or more shares. Each share represents about 100 kilowatt hours of electricity. With a one-time refundable deposit of $100, customers can choose how many shares they wish to have. Their monthly solar charge will be a monthly contribution based on the number of shares they've subscribed to support. Now, this diagram here explains how that rate works. Taking an average usage of 1,000 kilowatt hours per month, and you choose to subscribe to one solar share, your standard service charge is still the $30. Your usage is roughly 85 if we were to use about 8.5 cents per kilowatt hour times that 1,000. Your community solar share charge would be $1, meaning you would pay just $1 more than a non-participant would pay with the same usage. We also have a public dashboard for the program that shows just how much energy has been generated, is being generated, and more, including how much carbon the solar energy equals and other parameters. The data you see here was taken as of March 28th of this year. Next up, we have our newly launched Greener Together program. This program gives every member of the OPPD community their own voice. As part of this program, the customer can contribute monthly to all funds, and all funds are collected go towards selecting and supporting green projects within our community. Based on the amount that you contribute, You will have full access to all project details, as well as the ability to change and submit ideas and help identify which project should move forward. It is the one program that ignites many diverse initiatives, and you can be an integral part of that effort. By becoming a Greener Together customer, you can make an impact by supporting projects that make an immediate impact on the community. You can share your voice by voting and selecting on community projects. You can gain a community by collaborating with Greener Together community through the exclusive Greener Together dashboard. Now, projects must fall under one of three categories: renewable energy, environmental sustainability, and community betterment and education. There are some examples here: homeowners association solar project, beautification and tree planting initiatives, and many others. Now, the projects are not limited to just the examples you see here on the screen. Now, depending on the available funds, we may be able to fund multiple projects during each submission period. There are three levels of involvement. You can select a membership level and a price within that level that works best for you. All of these levels include access to our Community Connect dashboard, where members can find project details and suggest and vote on upcoming initiatives. Essentially, the more that you contribute, the more involvement you will have on each new project. You can sign up for this program and find out more information at oppd.com/GTP, or Greener Together program. All right, next up we have our EV charging efforts. To help fuel the EVs coming into the market, OPPD has secured over $600,000 of grant funding for public charging stations since 2018. These funds have enabled the installation of 13 publicly available EV charging sites throughout the OPPD service territory. Each of these sites has included at least one level 2 EV charger, and 5 new locations have recently gone live, and each of these new locations includes a 62 kilowatt DC fast charger. OPPD does gather and analyze the data from these chargers to help us inform our grid planning efforts for the future. On January 7th of this year, OPPD launched the Energy Education Program for late school age students, specifically 3rd through 5th grade. This program is designed to help increase the energy literacy of students, get them excited about science, and have them doing hands-on in-classroom work in the STEM fields, also with their peers. The program itself comes with 4 classroom sessions taught by OPPD's energy advisor, which would be me. We have Windy Wonders to teach about wind energy, So Into Solar to teach about solar energy, energy source exploration to teach about all the different forms of energy generation, energy efficiency and conservation, and of course, we are always happy to talk with the students about careers in energy. Each of the 4 main classroom sessions get the students building things to better understand the subject matter, like a wind turbine, a solar oven, an energy source expo diorama, and an energy house that they can actually insulate and take temperature measurements of. I'll briefly touch on OPPD's efforts to provide our customers with energy efficiency information, which not only helps them reduce their energy usage and thus their utility bills, but also their carbon footprint. The main hub for energy efficiency information are our energy efficiency web pages at oppd.com/EE. There, you'll find a multitude of tips broken down by category, an interactive house with more tips, a usage calculator, DIY videos, FAQs, and information about our energy advisor and how he, that would be me again, can come to your event, school, and what have you to talk about energy efficiency, what you can do, and why it is important. And as a parting note to close things out here, I just wanted to note that representatives from OPPD will actually be at Elmwood Park on Saturday, April 23rd in support of our EV charging stations and EV Charging 101 education during the annual Earth Day event. So come on out and see us. And thank you for your time, everyone.
Great, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Next up, we have MAPA with Sue, and so I will pass it off to her.
Thank you, Sally. My name is Sue Cutsforth, and I'm with the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, known as MAPA. To give you a little background about MAPA, we're a regional planning agency. We provide services to a 6-county area. So Washington, Douglas, Sarpy, and Cass counties in Nebraska, Pottawatomie and Mills counties in Iowa. And we focus on two key areas. One's transportation planning and many aspects of transportation, too many to list, but in particular long-range transportation planning, where we're projecting the needs, transportation needs of the residents of the region, but also the needs of the transportation system to support those needs and meet those needs. And then also we are an economic development district, so we do a lot of community and economic development work in the counties that we serve. And that could be like a downtown revitalization project or sewer and water improvements, those kinds of things. We do a lot with securing federal funding that we can then use to aid those projects and make them come to fruition. So MAPA also works a lot in traffic data, and we work on things like traffic growth reports, measuring traffic growth, measuring traffic volumes. And when we look at that, we look at transportation's impact on air quality, and specifically on the creation of ground level ozone, which is a key pollutant in the metro area. And when you think of ozone, think of it as good up high, but bad nearby. So ozone in the stratosphere protects us from the sun's ultraviolet rays. Ozone down low is the air pollution we know as smog. MAPA, in its role as a traffic data curator, projects that this year, all of us in our vehicles, whether it's for recreation or commuting to work or like freight travel, traffic, predict that all of us will travel at least 6.8 billion miles on the roads in our region. And vehicle emissions are a key component of ground level ozone. It's one of the elements that combined create ground level ozone. So if we can reduce the amount of vehicle miles traveled, then we can reduce the amount of vehicle emissions and hopefully reduce ground level ozone levels as well. Now, land use plays a role in how much people drive, how we build our communities, whether we are building out in the far edges where there isn't any other sustained development. So you have to drive longer to get to school, to work, to healthcare, or if we're developing and doing redevelopment in established areas where there's a variety of housing types where people can age in place. Again, you have access to education, healthcare, and jobs, and it's not car dependent, meaning you don't necessarily have to have a car to get around. You could use transit or walk or bike to your destinations. A couple of the recent projects that MAP has done that focus more on the alternative transportation, so that would be transit or walking or biking, have been the development of a regional bike and pedestrian master plan that established short and medium and then long-term goals and actions that could be taken to expand accessibility and connectivity within the region for pedestrians and bicyclists. So that could be something like creating signs that designate routes and direct people where to go, to also labeling slower speed routes to take, where residential streets that have lower traffic volumes, but also slower speeds. And then all the way to adding bike lanes when road resurfacing projects are taking place. Another project recently has been the Council Bluffs First Avenue Transit Alternative Study. And with that, we were studied, the results came up with 5 or 6 alternatives related to transit for this former railroad corridor that goes from the western edge of Council Bluffs to downtown. And so far what's been established, and you can see it in the picture down here, is a multi-use trail that has gone in along that corridor. It's getting close to being completed. A large portion of it is, but also there are conversations happening about possible streetcar line. Now, every fall, MAPA asks its cities and its counties for proposals for projects for federal funding. And this year we have, oh gosh, probably more than 30 and $250 million worth of requests. Now, we don't have that much money to fund all those projects, but a few ones that are being considered for potential funding include the Omaha Bike Pedestrian Master Plan, which is the city of Omaha's effort on that. Remember, I said MAPA had a regional one. This one would be specifically by the city for the city. Council Bluffs, the city submitted a trail proposal along the South Expressway, which would go from South 23rd Avenue through the Lake Manawa Business District and then down to the Veterans Memorial Highway there. Then La Vista also submitted a bike and pedestrian mobility plan that would connect riders and walkers across 84th Street without having to cross the traffic there, and would connect them to the new development in the center of the city, the city center development. Then also the city of Omaha has submitted an urban core street reconfiguration study that would examine the streets and the way they're designed between Old Market and Midtown, and look for the impacts that they have in their current design on transit, on walking, and on biking, and make suggestions on improvements that could be made or changes to improve safety and access and connectivity for walkers, bikers, and transit. I mentioned ground levels of ozone is a key pollutant in the Omaha metro area. Here's a graph that shows the pollutants at the different monitors that are measured by the Douglas County Health Department, which is the agency that reports air quality levels to the EPA. And the federal limit for ozone is 70 parts per billion, which you can see in the red line that's at the top of that screen, or I should say in the middle of the screen. That's the limit. So we don't want to go over that. And over the years, we've brought the limit down, which is good. We brought the levels down. And we sit at about 63 parts per billion for a design value. So we'd like to keep that dropping, because ozone has a significant health impacts for people, whether they're very old or very young, people with asthma and other pulmonary and lung conditions. So it is a health concern. One thing MAPPA has done since approximately 2010 has been running the Little Steps Cleaner Air education and awareness campaign. So we focus specifically on ozone, and it has a couple components, this campaign. One is a public awareness campaign where we issue press releases when the air quality forecast gets close to, is expected to get close to that range that would put us at that federal limit for ozone and mean more health implications for people. We also do social media posts, and we have had these emojis on billboards, both on the interstate and in the center of the city, to let people know the status of the air quality. Another portion of that campaign is school ozone monitoring. We have air quality curriculum that teachers can just take and use in their classrooms for their lessons about air pollution, or included in their lessons about air pollution. We also have handheld ozone monitors that we give to the teachers to use free of charge. And we have the Little Steps Cleaner Air website, littlestepscleanerair.com. So there's more information there. We also have been doing employer surveys where through Virtus Group, they contact large employers in the area. The employers then use a survey to give to their employees to ask them how they get to work right now and how they would prefer to get to work. So again, we're looking to create recommendations that help companies help their employees reduce those trips in vehicles where it's just one person in the vehicle. So what can you do to help improve air quality? Well, you can drive less, take the bus, walk or bike, especially for those destinations that are less than a mile. Avoid letting your car idle more than 30 seconds. If you're in a drive-through lane, you could shut your engine off while you're waiting before you go up to the window, or better yet, go and park and go in, because it might even be faster to get your food or drink that way, and you save vehicle emissions. And then when you are filling up your vehicle, do it in the evening hours, because what that does is that gives the air, the chemicals, or I should say the fumes from the gas pumps that also can contribute to the creation of ozone. It gives them time to dissipate overnight before you get into the heat of the day and the warmer air that could hold those down and help create more ozone. Also, you can go to littlestepscleanerair.com and take the Clean Air Pledge to be a clean air champion, which would then enable you, you can start following and practicing some of those behaviors. We also have a Metro rideshare program. So that is available on the MAPPA website, and you can go in and find a carpooling partner, so you don't have to drive every day. And also there's a van pool program which the state does for employers where they lease a van, and a group of employees that live in the same area, then one will take turns driving it. They pay a very small, like weekly or monthly fee, and then they have a way to get to work without having to drive by themselves all the time. And for more information, I'll answer questions at the end of this roundtable, but also my email address is scutsworth@mapacog.org. And that concludes my presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sue. That was a perfect segue into where we're going next. Yes, for our attendees, please, if you have any questions for our presenters, feel free to throw those in the Q&A. We'll address those at the end. Continuing a little bit on our outdoor theme, next up we have City Sprouts with Leah and Edgar, and I will go ahead and pass it off to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leah, and I am the Soil Health and Conservation Program Manager at City Sprouts.
Hi, everyone. My name is Edgar. I'm the City Sprouts South Manager. So let's get things started here. First of all, let me get this going. There we go. Okay. So first of all, welcome, everybody. We are City Sprouts. So for some of you that are not really familiar with us, let me kind of just give you a little bit overview as to who we are. So we are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization directed by our volunteer board. We're also members of the Nonprofit Association of the Midlands. Our staff also serves on the Share Our Table board to the United Way of the Midlands, the Omaha Bryan High School Agricultural Academy Advisory Board, the Creighton University Engaged Learning Committee, and the Horticulture Land Systems Management Advisory Board. We're also partnered with the and also our service site for the Cortina community at Creighton University. We really work with the community to build local food systems. We try to improve the community health, empower neighborhoods, and strengthen economic viability and sustainability. We also develop and conduct educational programs that teach all age groups, from toddlers all the way up to adults, on the process of gardening, cooking, preserving, and much more than that. Really, education is one of our main cores here. Let me also kind of give you a little bit of history about us as how we got started. So City Sprouts became a group back in '95 when a group of concerned members in the community, they came together to proclaim a group, or I'm sorry, not a group, but a overgrown city lot. And you probably have seen those anywhere you drive throughout the city, just areas that are just kind of overgrown. They wanted to make that into a community garden. So then the group's organizers got together and they realized that there's a half acre that we could use. So they took that. They began the process of revitalizing this area, especially the soil. And then with the help of a lot of volunteers, all the weeds were cleared out, some beds were dug out and created, and then the seeds were planted. Today now, our organization has grown up to include not only the original garden, which is what we call City Sprouts North, also our South Community Garden, which is located in Omaha, called City Sprouts South. That's the one that I manage. And then our most recent site, which is a multi-acre site near Carter Lake. That's going to be in the future. It's going to be our main education center. But for now, our main education center is at the City Sprouts North location. And then we have thousands of participants and volunteers a year. So we've kind of grown quite a bit. With this, we're going to give you a little bit also, sorry. We're going to give you a little bit of information here about what our main mission is, because that's kind of important. Like, why do we do this? And really, this is what it entails. Is we try to use urban agriculture as a platform to develop the equitable food systems. And really, we try to provide education opportunities everywhere in anything that we do. And really, the overall process and the goal for this is to build a better community. Now, to build a better community, we have to have some goals set up for that. I'm going to pass this off to Leah to give us some information about what our goals are. There we go.
Great, thank you. So our goals are to increase the availability of fresh and locally grown produce in our community. So there, like Edgar touched on, are several ways that we do that. Just a few examples that we listed are that we have U-pick garden beds, both at our north and the south gardens. So U-pick basically means that you can come to those places and you can pick the food. These are beds that are available and open to anybody who is in that area who might want to try some of the produce in those beds. So we maintain them, we do the work to upkeep them, but they are available to the community. We do also have a free farm stand at our south garden. So this, like the name entails, is just a farm stand that we have regularly, and we make some of the other produce available that aren't in those U-pick beds. We make that produce available to the community as well. On our main site, we also have the little free library and pantry at our main office. So that is a library that we have, as well as a pantry that we make available to the community. So they can go into that space and then they can take any of the books that might be there or any of the pantry items. Now the pantry is slightly different from the first two things that I mentioned, because the others were more the produce, the food that we grew. The pantry is of course going to be pantry items, so things that are packaged and non-perishable. We do also produce donations to local food pantries. So every year we grow thousands and thousands of pounds of produce, and we donate a lot of that food. I think last year we donated, I believe it was 12,000, maybe 13,000 pounds of food. And that goes to various pantries, various organizations that take that produce and they make it available to people in our community as well.
Awesome. All right, folks. And then another part of our goals too is that we also provide employment opportunities. And this goes directly specifically to our summer internship program. This entails a crew of about 16 interns. They can range anywhere between 15 to 20 years old. The internship runs from May all the way up to August. We do compensate them financially, but in the process, and this is where we really kind of get to the core of things, we train them in the process of agriculture, horticulture, culinary arts, public health, and life skills. And we try to tie all of that into the sustainability aspect. For example, on the other agriculture side, we teach them the basics and the importance of green cover crops, composting, things of that nature. The culinary arts, we teach them to be a little bit more self-sustainable themselves. Instead of eating out all the time, maybe you can get yourself some vegetables, learn how to cook them, how to prep them. We try to use the stuff that we grow, bring it into the kitchen, and then give them some lessons on how to use it. Also, too, as part of all this, they do gain quite a bit of experience in customer service, because we do take those interns into markets that we also participate in. We do a little bit of job readiness for them, because for a lot of these individuals, this is their first job straight out of high school or even in during high school. So we try to give them a little bit of prep work as they go through the training process for an interview and so forth. Also, we give them a little bit of taste of the leadership part of it. As part of a group, obviously, we give them certain tasks where they have to lead other interns along the way. And this is especially more important to the interns that we have coming back from the previous seasons. They're a little bit more experienced in the process that we do, so we give them that responsibility to be able to teach and guide the other interns. And then overall, we really try to give them the basics of working in a team and to be able to manage all the different farm sites that we work with. Moving right along.
All right, so, oh, sorry. So another one of our goals is to educate the community about gardening and sustainability. So we do this in very official capacities. So that's the educational programs that we're going to talk about, but also just through the exposure, the programs, the sites that we have, and that exposure to the community. You know, anytime we're there, we're trying to make it a learning opportunity for people to be able to come and learn from that space. But some of our official educational programs that we have are Little Sprouts. So that covers ages 3 to 7. We also have Truck Farm Omaha, which is kind of like a movable educational piece. So we can come to different schools, different areas, and give some sessions about various topics pertaining to what we do. And that is preschool all the way up to adults. We have a garden to table program, which is at 2 middle schools, I believe. Edgar, help me out here. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's for Lewis and Clark and at King's Heights.
Yes. And then the summer urban farming internship, which Edgar did just touch on more. And then we have the Growing Gardeners workshop series. So this is all ages. We primarily have adults attend these workshops. And these are just different classes that we offer throughout the season on all kinds of topics, ranging from how to plant a garden, beekeeping, food preservation through things like fermentation, stuff like that. So they really cover a really wide range of topics, and people can just go on our website to sign up for those. And then those this year, thankfully with COVID, with COVID lessening, we're able to have those in person once again.
Yes, we are very glad for that. We're having that in person. All right, folks. And then the other last goal here is that our community, we try to build a community through gardening. These are some of the quick events that we offer, as you can see, growing workshops, the seed serve program, and then the different, everything that we offered in the community gardens. And really the most important, volunteering and gardening opportunities that we offer for everybody else. And again, thank you all so much for your time. Again, the main thing that we want to leave you all with is how to get involved with this. Is you're welcome to go to our website, but the best way to participate is to sign up for our workshops. We are more than happy to teach you a lot of basic information and a lot of advanced information as well.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you both. That was great. And moving on, we have 2 left for you. And so I believe Hillside Solutions is up next, Brent.
All right, thanks. So Hillside Solutions, we're a, you can think of us like a waste hauling company based in the Omaha metro area. But kind of our niche is we try to, work with businesses that want to do something other than just landfill their waste. So we offer different recycling methods, and then we have the area's only industrial composting facility in the Omaha area. So we get to initiate that and those types of programs and help people get that into their schools and businesses and even homes too. So what I want to talk about today in terms of like call to action stuff is ultimately Omaha's circular food movement that's happening. But first, I want to touch a little bit on like to get there, like the paradigm that we have of trash and the way this affects our progress and how that leads into linear and circular thinking, and then what's going on in our corner of the world with Omaha's circular food movement. So quick background, we work with a variety of organizations, from Creighton University to, doing zero waste events like with Maha Music Festival, and work with a number of folks on this call here, Metro and City Sprouts and different things like that. We have a composting program for schools. And so where they're composting the food waste in the lunchroom, and any given school day, there's like 12,000 students interacting with that program. Maha Music Festival, we work with them. Their ultimate goal is to be a zero waste festival. So we kind of ink closer towards that each year and have a blast digging through people's trash in that process. And then at our composting facilities annually, between food waste and manure and wood waste, we process through about 80,000 tons of material a year. So I didn't get into this industry until January 2018. And before that, I had no formal training. So there's kind of like what I thought, which I think is what most people think that aren't embedded in this kind of stuff, and then what I've discovered. And so, what I thought and what I think most people have in their mind, we're culturated to think, is that our trash is waste. And so for me, what that's affiliated with is this, what I call the out of sight, out of mind theory. And so that's kind of what people want their relationship to be with waste now. They don't want to have to see it or deal with it, and they want it to be somewhere else away. It's yucky, get it out of here. And that makes a lot of sense, because like there was a time when we were too close to our waste, think like the Middle Ages and all kinds of health concerns were breaking out and plagues, we were too close. So we had to have a degree of separation out of survival, right? So from that, we created this like take, make, waste model, okay? And the landfilling model. So we created this really efficient thing where we have these trucks come through and pick up one container, and it goes to landfill, and we bury it, forget about it. And that's been helpful for survival of humanity, but now it's like this rubber band effect of causing all these other issues, which now we're having to come face and figure out what we're going to do. But so in that process, here's where we are. According to EPA, the average American produces 4.3 pounds of trash every single day. Each one of us 4.3 pounds of trash. And in Nebraska, it's actually it's like 7 pounds because of our agricultural waste. So what I discovered through this process is that waste is a human invention. Out of everything that exists on this planet, we're the only ones that create trash or waste. Okay, everything else is doing this, we could call zero waste. All right, so what I discovered then is that our trash is actually a resource. Okay, and I connected this to some of the stuff I learned in college. When I was studying different cultures. And so one of the things you learn about in like Western thought is that we're taught that we're taught to have an experience which is linear. So we think about time as a linear experience. There's a beginning and end to the day. Our lives, they start and they end. You know, it's even deep seated in a lot of cultural ideas. You know, think about the Bible. The world was created, and then, you know, at the end the world's going to be destroyed. Okay, so I think that kind of thinking is partially what's led to the take, make, waste model we have, which is like the earth has resources, we extract it, we use it, and then we just dispose of it, bury, forget about it. Okay, that's a linear process. Okay, whereas the goal should be to reinvest those materials back into the system. And so if you look at, there's a lot of indigenous, you know, examples where they're thinking of time and their experience in a circular way. Okay, and so it's funny, we think about composting in some ways as like this new movement, but really, you know, we know it's like an old movement that we just forgot. And so ultimately the future is circular. I mean, we have to break out of linear modes and think in circular systems in order to fix the problems we have now. So the good news is that there is this movement happening in Omaha now. City Sprouts is talking about all the great things they're doing. So I'm gonna share some of the things that's going on. It's also interconnected, but like one example that emerged early to me was, you know, here's a picture of a farm, an organic tomato farm in Papillion, Stream Meadows. So they use our finished compost to help those tomatoes grow. Then they sell them to a number of places. One example is this picture here. Au Courant, it's a really wonderful restaurant in Benson, uses those tomatoes to make a dish like this. Au Courant also composts their food waste with us. So they're like reinvesting back into the systems which helped produce the food that they serve to their customers. Okay, so I thought, oh, this is it right here. Like, how do we cultivate more of this? Because, you know, in the traditional realm, you get trash. You know, a waste hauler picks up trash and puts it somewhere, and that's it. You know, you pick up recycling, you put it into the recycling system. Where does it go? What does it become? Who really knows? But when you compost, like, that stays local. You can't ship it to China. Rotting food waste doesn't work that way. And so when you create that product, like, you can't ship that to China either. Like, it's got to, you know, use it locally. So we're reinvesting in our local systems when we do that. But a lot of the people we work with, it was a linear experience. We take their stuff and we turn it and we sell it to someone else. How do we get it back to the people that we're working with? And so we came up with this program. So it kind of started in pieces. And so we have this program called Compost Club, and then we developed Compost Club Gives out of that. So Compost Club Gives is like this campaign we just finished up. We do once a year, it's our second year. And the goal is to strengthen Omaha's circular food system, okay? So the first step is that we have this residential subscription program, Compost Club. So imagine you as a resident, you produce waste at home. Like, you could subscribe to our program, you pay a monthly fee, and then you gain access to a network of different drop-off sites around town. We have around 55 in the Omaha metro area now. So you can bring your food waste, you know, the compostable takeout stuff you get from restaurants, you know, some people use, you know, for their animal waste, you know, paper towels, things like that. Not so much yard waste, because, you know, some of these sites we have are set up in, like, you know, a hair salon, right? So you bring your bucket of food scraps, for example, and you drop off at these spaces. We take it, we compost it. But then for being a member, you also get some soil back or finished compost back. So this is an example of one of our drop-off sites at the Bemis Center, next to the pop-up Oasis Garden, which is also a partner. So you get some compost back, and you also get discounts on buying additional soil or mulch or whatever you need. So what we found, though, was like, not everybody uses like that portion of like getting that finished compost back. So think about like a bank of soil sitting there, unused resource. What do we do with it? Okay, cool. Well, the second step to this whole Compost Club Gives element is like, we have a bunch of different organizations, nonprofits that we're working with that we're picking up their compostables from. And so these nonprofit organizations also are Compost Club drop-off sites for these residential members. And they're growing food, organic food, and making that available to their community or community at large, okay? And so this past year, we had 15 different organizations that we were partnered with. You see here, City Sprouts was one of them. And what we did is we went to our 750 Compost Club members and said, if you're not going to use your soil, you can donate it here. And oh, by the way, we went to the different business partners that we have that compost with us and said, hey, we'll give you soil credits too that you can donate to these organizations. And then we went to the community at large and say, hey, there's this program we have. You want to join this thing, and then you can donate your soil credits today if you want to. And so we had all these different partners that we work with also talk about it too. And so that's kind of like the third element is like, okay, we have this resource. How do we get it to these nonprofit gardens that are, doing the great work of carbon sequestration and making local food accessible, and that's sort of like how we can help strengthen the circular food system. Because now imagine like you're a Compost Club member, you're bringing your food waste to a drop-off site, but that drop-off site's also composting whatever's left over from that site, but then we're going to take it, turn it into compost, bring it back there to grow more things, which is then people are going to eat, which they're going to compost whatever's left from that. And it's like on and on and on it goes. Like that's the future. That's circular thinking and circular systems. So yeah, this is some of the promo that we use, like compost you helped create, which is like a little soil pile in the background. Boom, feeds a garden, like Tri-Faith Initiative, which feeds people. City Sprouts, like they did a wonderful little post. I love this little graphic, help strengthen Omaha's circular food system today. This is like example of some posts we were doing during the campaign, like Zen Coffee just donated 27 cubic feet of soil to No More Empty Pots. By doing so, they're completing the loop in Omaha's circular food system. You can do the same, just sign up for Compost Club, and some of the results. So here's like a graph of the different organizations that received the different amounts, but in total it was about like 1,000 cubic feet of soil, and enough to fill 18 F-150 trucks, sustaining, helping contribute to 15 different community gardens around town. So here's, and then we have these little like signs we're going to be putting up at the sites that receive this stuff. So it says like, hi, I'm a gardener that's reversing climate change. You can do the same by following these steps: composting with Hillside, getting soil back to feed your garden, ditching chemicals and tillers, QR code, boom, take action. So inviting more people into the process, into the system. So yeah, that's what we're up to, and helping strengthen the circular food system here in Omaha. You all folks can get involved in that by joining Compost Club and being a part of that whole process. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Brett. Appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, we have Gus with Omaha Permaculture. And again, for our attendees, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to throw them in the Q&A. We should have some time here at the end to go over questions.
All right. Thank you, Sally. Can everybody hear me? All right, great. My name is Gus Von Rowan, and I'm the founder and executive director of Omaha Permaculture. And I'm going to start my PowerPoint up here real quick.
That's good.
So basically, we are a nonprofit that we're about 6 years old, and we arose, I guess, out of kind of community need for sustainability, representing low-income communities and helping the city maintain vacant properties. But pretty much, I'm going to address the term permaculture real quickly in a brief explanation. Otherwise, it takes very long to explain all the facets involved with what permaculture is, but it's ultimately sustainability and sustainable living, but guided by ethics. So basically, first, we're taking care of the earth. So very much a strong environmental message. Second, we're taking care of people, us and our family and our friends in our community. And then any excesses in that system, time, money, energy, supplies of our lives, we return it back to our community. So it's once again that circular community and circular economy that both City Sprouts and Brent were talking about, that is very much a strong theme in permaculture. So it's sustainability, but it's more for community. It's not as much of a market solution, maybe that you would, take away with and create your farm into a high performance market farm. But a lot of people know permaculture for its horticultural application, but it actually has a lot of application in energy use, and ultimately on a larger, bigger scale is land use itself, as also was a theme this evening. So basically, we started Omaha Permaculture because we saw this map back in 2010. And in all those little black dots are vacant properties surrounding Adams Park in North Omaha. So if you understand at all what, really you were trying to accomplish in permaculture, we're trying to use land more efficiently, more effectively, so that it actually is a benefit for the people who live around it. And as this map, very blatantly shows that we definitely, there are parts of our community here in Nebraska that need help to turn these vacant properties that are usually stuck with windblown trash and places for dumping, and trying to find ways to turn them into a positive and a dignified representation in the community. And food is the best representation. Here's just a picture that shows that how strong of a theme food is here in the history of Omaha. This is down in South Omaha, looking over the stockyards almost a century ago. And, we are still in the breadbasket, supposedly, of the United States. We have a strong agricultural theme, a strong agricultural economy that, ripples all around us. And you don't necessarily have to look back in the history to see that agriculture used to be in the city also. So our nonprofit tries to address this kind of externalities of living in Omaha, and trying to figure out how do we create a local economy and point out sustainability as a general theme and as a teaching point for pretty much every endeavor we see here in Omaha, Nebraska. But our mission is to foster community through sustainable land stewardship. And what this means, it means many things in terms of what we're able to provide as a nonprofit. We are a consultant for many groups in designing sustainable and community green spaces, as well as the structures themselves. We are also an educator, primarily with low-tech sustainability training for high school age and others. We're also highly focused on conservation, even in the city. It's not just something we do in the suburbs or out in the rural sphere. Urban land restoration and environmental practices are things we advocate for. And while we are maintaining a lot of these sometimes sad vacant properties, we're looking at we're testing the soil, and we're finding ways to passively improve the soil over time through tested improvement methods, like basically just sheet mulching or cover crops, or really whatever makes sense for that particular community. So soil building is a large theme of what we're doing, and conservation goes hand in hand with that. We are also this year rolling out some new kind of revenue approaches, given the fact that we have just moved on to a new headquarters. But we are rolling out a landscape maintenance fee for service, as well as landscape installation. We now have the infrastructure that houses all of these materials and all of the equipment to get this done. We're becoming more of a glorified landscaping equipment / farming organization as we grow. And then lastly, we are a community advocate in general for protecting the diminishing urban green spaces. As there's a push to be able to build and develop all over Omaha, we are definitely going to represent why you should take pause and keep and value our green spaces in our communities. Most of the properties that we've worked with in the past usually look like this. We help the city of Omaha, Omaha Municipal Land Bank, and Habitat for Humanity with the worst vacant properties. The properties that are poorly lit, the ones that don't have signs, and it's difficult to kind of squelch the amount of dumping that these properties sometimes invite. So we find a way to quickly turn that trash and clean them up and give the property a dignified look that is maintained throughout the growing season and the green season for all of those partners we mentioned earlier. And then there are a lot of properties that just because we're that part of town, the contractors don't get off of their mower to go pick up the trash first. Sometimes they just kind of go through some of that low grass, and what's there is what is remaining. And our approach is to go through and treat all these properties, even though to make sure it looks nice everywhere throughout North Omaha and most of our neighborhoods. And one of our, obviously, the aesthetics and what we're trying to promote is growing food in these properties, if possible. We're not turning into a lawn mowing organization of maintenance, but obviously everybody has different ideas of aesthetics and what is, what they want right next to their home and their property. But we work with the community in the neighborhood to kind of understand what are those ideas and those aesthetics. But generally we keep a very tidy curb appeal with some more relaxed aesthetics inside, but very delineated manicured paths and the curb appeal for people to kind of enjoy a nature space. Basically, the goal of what we're trying to do with these spaces is protect our heroes, and that's the pollinators. Here I have a honeybee, which is actually, not a native pollinator, but in terms of being able to, it's the most identifiable for a lot of our people here, and they also understand the food connection to honey, because actually pollinators are not just honeybees, are very important for 1 out of every 3 bites that you put in your mouth. And so it's very important to have our pollinators even in the city. The city is very important. It's not just something that we have out in, out in the prairie. It's something that's important right in your own backyard, protecting the pollinators. And the things that you do in your own backyard are actually create the environment that invites the pollinators to be a part of our city environment. Or you can, the more toxic approach kind of chases them away. And I think when we're trying to establish a food system that is local, the pollinators end up being one of the unsung heroes that, insects in general, we're kind of a squeamish society now. We don't see them as very important, but their importance is growing, and there's alarming data about how much longer they really can be here in vibrant numbers. So we do need everybody to kind of call to action here to actually protect your local pollinators and local wildlife in general. I think that we're creating spaces that, we're not putting fences up. We're inviting all animals and all the wildlife on our properties to be a part of this urban ecosystem. Just as an example here, this is a northern prairie skink. Many people may not know what a skink is. It's kind of like a lizard and with legs / snake. It's right in between there. But on a lot of these vacant properties, underneath all that trash, that dumped trash, we will be finding these very rare and sensitive creatures. And I've lived here for a long time, and I didn't know that they existed here. And undisturbed on these vacant properties, without toxins, without traffic, without all of the busyness of an urban environment, it's really amazing to see that nature will return and nature will come back. And even as something as sensitive as these prairie skinks. So this is a very amazing creature, and it's thriving on vacant properties. One of our best programs that we do every year, and we've been doing it now for our entirety of 6 years, is conduct a BioBlitz. And we do it every July and August. We work with an entomologist from Creighton University and a botanist from UNO. And every year we go through all about 9 to 10 properties we've had over the years and identify every living plant, insect, and bird and animal, if we can see the animals, on the site. And basically we've done that for 9 properties for 6 years now. And we're about to publish data that is basically the topic phenology, basically expressing the migration and the move of biodiversity according to climate change and according to the weather and how it changes from year to year. Every year we're seeing, different numbers of biodiversity expression, and it is actually telling a story, a narrative that probably will be able to tell over a longer course, maybe 10 years. But here at six years, we're already being able to tell something about what exists on North Omaha vacant properties. And that may not sound super interesting, but there's actually quite a little ecosystem there, and people don't even realize it right underneath our noses. And so I'll go to the next one here. So another important theme that is tied with our new headquarters in North Omaha is actually the harvesting of some of the trees on these North Omaha vacant properties. We're actually, we bring a wood miser, a wood mill on site twice a year, sometimes 3, and we mill large trunks that used to be part of our North Omaha neighborhoods. They used to be shading our neighborhoods. And they enjoy then a nice sustainable future as built materials on vacant properties. It may eventually end up as a picnic table, a garden sign, or a tool shed. But we also are coming up with garden benches and other things that we can make. Here in this picture here with Tiffany, she is one of our best community champions maintaining a community garden. And you may see in the background, we have a 12-foot picnic table. We make them 12 foot long because they're very difficult to kind of just throw into a truck, and they don't walk away very easily. And then way in the back there, you can see a pallet tool shed, and we basically assemble solid pallets and solid structures out of reused materials, and that is an opportunity to put your tools and keep them on site. And then Tiffany is leaning against a garden sign that we build with upcycled wood and recycled wood that we find. And the prices of wood have gone up in the last couple of years. So actually the wood reutilization and harvesting program is becoming a revenue component of us as we grow and grow into our new headquarters site, which the new headquarters site actually used to handle lumber as a business for at least 6 or 7 decades of the 20th century. So we're kind of coming full circle and reusing this new headquarters as a wood handling site like it once was. And then these are just a few examples of some of the groups we work with. Some of them are coming from the probation office. We have worked with people affecting recidivism and trying to have positive experiences in North Omaha, where we're actually helping maintain these vacant properties. And then a lot of these and then we have a corporate days where we build picnic tables, so getting people out of their office. And then we also get, hand tools in people's hand, and we also imagine projects together that hopefully we start in an early summer and then carry them throughout the year so that they actually get to see the completion of a garden project, a design project that happens in the North Omaha property. And then we also have very strong partnerships with the New Americans and refugee communities that have now called Omaha their home. The people we work with, they're from Southeast Asia, they're from Africa. They have very amazing, strong traditional roots of growing food. They actually are some of our best community champions when it comes to vacant properties. They know how to tend the property. We basically just make tidy up the curb appeal. We give them water access. If there's no water access on site, we actually figure out ways to bring water to them. Then we mow the curb appeals, make things look tidy, bring in volunteer groups to pick up windblown trash throughout the season. And then we worry about that property and how it looks for the colder 5 or 6 months of the year. So we're constantly rebuilding the site with soil building while the new Americans are not using it on the off season. But basically, they're our best community champions. We love working with them, and we have about almost 5 acres worth of New American Gardens that are feeding about 200 people, and on a regular basis. And that's we've now been doing that for 4 years with New American groups, and it's definitely one of our best programs. And this is just a glimpse of our new potential headquarters. We actually just signed the purchase agreement last week. So we're in the process of buying it. The closing date is in the end of May, but we've already begun looking at contractors. We need to fix kind of an old industrial building in North Omaha. It's dated between the 1920s, and then the office building you see there is roughly in the 1970s, but it's a flat roof, and flat roofs don't last very long, so we have to do some rehabilitation. But this is an 8.5 acre parcel site. It has opportunities for farming and then conservation, as well as hosting great school and other nonprofit activities here on site. There will be a bike trail going along the property on the far side in this photo. So there will be a very open-armed approach that this property will be open to the public and the community every day of the week, and even hosting music events on the weekends. So basically, the point of Omaha Permaculture is to create abundance. And this is a picture that we took years ago from a garden, a vacant property where we planted many, many different plants in April and in May and in June. And then we kind of lost sight of that property. It was one of our early years. We didn't go back. We didn't weed it. We didn't do anything. And then we came back in October, and then we pulled some of those weeds. And this was all the food that was underneath a garden that we didn't weed. And basically, my point here is that you do not have to be a rocket scientist to create a yield, to create a food. And granted, it was even a drought year, and we still had this much food underneath all those weeds. I really encourage people to go out and enjoy their backyards, enjoy their community, and get involved and share the knowledge that you know of what you're doing. And that's the call to action that we have here through Omaha Permaculture. Go out there and discover those vacant properties and help beautify your community. And it's all about soil building. That's what we're leaving to the generation or the behind us. So that's the end of my presentation today. Please contact us if you're interested for volunteer or internship opportunities. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Gus. We do have one question in the Q&A that I'm happy to answer too. Also, I want to mention in the chats, we did try and post links to all of these organizations so that you all can learn more. If you do have questions after our events, I encourage you to reach out to all of these organizations. In one way or another, I think I've worked with almost all of you on some level, and I can just say wonderful people that are always happy to answer questions or work with the community, especially. But with that being said, let me get into the Q&A. So the question is, are there other effective ways to reduce waste in addition to composting? I will leave a comment, and then I'm happy to open up to our speakers as well. One thing I would say is, taking a look at your consumption. What are some things that you are buying on a regular basis? As our lives have gotten busier and busier, we find that packaging tends to try and be more and more convenient, but more and more convenient also tends to be less and less recyclable or less and less reusable. So by planning ahead a little bit, or even doing a little bit of investment into maybe some items that you can easily reuse instead of recycling, right? It's reduce, reuse, and then recycle. So take a look at your own purchasing, I would say, is a good place to start, and start tackling those, maybe those items that you buy a lot of, or that you see, oh, wow, there's nothing in here I can recycle. I'd also encourage you to take a look at the Hefty Orange Bag program. We were lucky to have that in the Omaha area. And that is a place where you can recycle your soft plastics, which are a hard to recycle item. And a soft plastic is generally anything you can like crumple into a ball. So chip bags, those flimsy plastic lids on the top of soda, takeout soda containers, saran wrap, things like that. While we would like more of a focus on reusing and reducing, that is a recycling option that we have here. But with that being said, I know we have a ton of expertise on this call. So if any of you have anything to add, please jump in.
Yeah, I would certainly add to that. We actually ran into this kind of it was a little bit different. I didn't really come across this before, but down at our south side, we were doing a cleanup project. And unfortunately, we discovered that people threw away tires in our lot. So it's kind of disappointing, frustrating too, because how do you get rid of a tire? There's a whole process involved with that. But then I realized, wait a minute, we can reuse the material. And so kind of going off of your topic of taking material and then reusing it to something else, we thought, why not use these tires as an opportunity to maybe not grow food in them, but to use them as decorative pots around the garden. That's actually opening up another project that I'm working on, where we're going to have volunteers come in. We're going to decorate those tires to paint them in creative ways. And we're going to go plant decorative flowers in them. So again, just another crazy way to use something that could have been easily thrown away, but at the same time, use it for something productive, something to make the site a little bit more beautiful. So simply reusing materials is a good idea.
Yeah, I think like Sally, I mean, obviously you do this professionally or have, with Veritas Group. That's like, I don't know what there else is to add to that, but the things that came to my mind is like echoing where you were going with like looking inside your trash and recycling, composting, whatever, like what are the things you're producing most consistently, and then breaking down, like finding the hacks of what you can do about that. So like one of the things like I kind of joke around about is, like if you're still buying Ziploc bags, like you're kind of a sucker, because like all the stuff you buy from the grocery store, like all this food packaging is like a lot of it is just like a Ziploc bag, just with product branding on it. So just keep it, rinse it, and save it. So there's like a lot of little things you can do like that when you start to break things down. I got into a while for like making my own toothpaste because it's only a couple simple ingredients, and so I was like, great, I don't have to buy toothpaste anymore if I don't want to. Yeah, that's what I want to contribute there.
Great, thank you. I will say I have noticed on Hillside social media, they tend to do some very nice posts of like, hey, I used to do this and like now I do this. And a lot of them are ways to reduce waste at home. So that's a local source, but there are a ton of DIY things as well online too that you can find for how to make your own cleaning materials to, even just how to reduce my household waste. So if you're looking for things that you can do personally, ton of options out there. Thank you for that. Okay. See, looks like we have a couple more questions here. Is there any place in Omaha where you can get refills of items like vinegar by taking your container to reuse? I know there's Eden's Preserve, I believe, in Dundee. I'm not sure if they have vinegar. Let's see, Whole Foods, I mean, they have a really big bulk section. Natural Grocers might as well for food items. And I'm sorry, it's not Eden's Preserve in Dundee, it's Exist Green in Dundee. And then Eden's Preserve has a new shop where they have some refillables, but I think that they're like body items. Does anyone else on the call know of where vinegar might be a reuse? I don't know vinegar in particular. Okay, I know you can get, if you want to buy more in bulk to reduce how many small bottles you can get. I mean, that is a place where some things like Costco or Sam's Club might come in handy as well. Is that okay? And it looks like, I know Eric, he had a little bit of a short timeline for us, but it looks like this next one is on electric vehicles. So electric vehicles are generally still quite expensive. Are there any notable tax credits or other programs we could use to help bring down the cost? That is a great question. I thought that there were some tax credits available, but I can't say that I can speak on that as an expert. If anyone else here has thoughts. You do that? Okay. I would recommend reaching out to OPPD on that. I know that they do have a few programs and they're going to have a great answer for you there. So thank you for that question. I apologize. I don't have a good answer for you here at the time. Let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. Okay. I want to say thank you so much to all of our presenters tonight. I know April is an incredibly busy month for all of you, and I really appreciate you all coming here and sharing your knowledge and your expertise. Excited to hear about all the great things that are happening in the area. You know, we did copy this event from when I believe that was done in the fall, and we liked it so much, and even folks in the sustainability realm learned so much about what was going on. We wanted to do it again. So thank you again for being here, and to our attendees, thank you for plugging in. It's been great, and I think that is all we have. So thanks again, and we are done for this evening.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks, everybody.